Baboon TV presents 15 medical conditions you wouldn't believe actually exist. At number 1, meet Bojana Donovilik, the woman who sees the world upside down. This extremely rare condition is called spatial orientation phenomenon, and people who have it see everything upside down all the time. The woman in the photo has to use an upside down monitor at work, and she has an upside down television at home. Even experts from Harvard University were consulted in this case because it is so rare and unusual. Number 2. There are many people who have trouble with waking up in the morning, but did you know that there is a rare kind of chronic sleeplessness called fatal familial insomnia that eventually leads to inevitable death? Yes, it is real. Fatal insomnia is caused by a gene that is inherited by a parent, and it is present both in human and animal worlds. This rare medical condition strikes the brain and nervous system, and then it leads to loss of memory and intelligence. Number 3. At the age of 18, beautiful Hazel Jones discovered that she is no ordinary woman. Hazel always wondered why she suffered from terrible cramps and heavy periods during puberty, but then she discovered that she actually has 2 vaginas. Uterus didelphys is an extremely rare condition, and it basically means that Hazel has 2 separate uteruses and cervixes. The worst part is that Hazel actually had to lose her virginity twice. Number 4. Paul Carrison, aka Papa Smurf, suffered from another rare condition called argyria. Paul became worldwide famous when his skin turned permanently blue, and this happened to him after years of self-medication. Argyria is a hereditary disease, and it can also cause other serious illnesses like coma, seizures, and even death. There's a family in the troublesome Creek Hills in Kentucky called Blue Fugate who had blue skin. Number 5. This British man called Graham woke up one day convinced that he is no longer alive. Graham was breathing and he was very much alive, but he thought that he was dead. Doctors diagnosed this man with a medical condition called Cotard syndrome, also known as walking corpse syndrome. The latter term was given because people actually thought that this condition turns people into zombies. Graham once described how he spent his days in graveyards. Number 6. We all have events and days or years in our lives that we would like to forget, but there are some people who have an extraordinary capability of remembering everything that happened to them in their past. This medical condition is called hyperthymesia, and it is also known as highly superior autobiographical memory. A woman who suffered from this bizarre condition described her own memory as non-stop, uncontrollable, and automatic. Number 7. While the most of us are struggling with losing weight, Lizzie Velasquez has to eat every 15 minutes to stay alive. This strange medical condition is called neonatal-progeroid syndrome, and it causes accelerated aging, losing fat from the face and body, and tissue degeneration. Lizzie's condition prevents her from gaining weight, but she has to eat up to 60 small meals a day, between 5,000 and 8,000 calories daily, in order to stay alive. Number 8. Aquatinic urticaria is another bizarre medical condition that appears whenever the patient comes in contact with water. The typical symptoms of this physical disease are rashes and hives breaking out all over the skin, and also sensations of burning or itching every time the skin is exposed to water. Another negative side to this condition is that people who suffer from it find it difficult to drink water. The only way to treat aquatinic urticaria is to make the patient's body comfortable in water. Number 9. Yuritsa Olivia managed to shock doctors in Chile when they discovered that she cries tears of blood. Yuritsa suffers from a rare medical condition called hemolacria, and she cries blood tears several times a day. Not only that this disease is shocking, but it is also very hard to bear. Yuritsa was prescribed eye drops to ease the burning pain she once described as indescribable. She was even thought to have an eye infection, but it was ruled out when she was diagnosed with this disease. Number 10. Prosopagnosia, or the inability to recognize faces, is a medical condition in which a person loses his or her ability to recognize faces. This condition occurs after acute brain damage, or it can be the consequence of a birth defect. There's an estimate that about 2.5% of the world's population suffers from this medical condition, and even though there have been several attempts to use therapies as remediations, no lasting improvements have been achieved. Number 11. Some of you might think that it would be fun to get drunk without having to drink alcohol. Oh, the calories. But it is actually no fun at all. Nick Hess suffers from autobrewery syndrome, or in other words, he gets drunk by eating any food. Nick wakes up every day drunk and vomiting. Autobrewery syndrome occurs when there is too much yeast in the gut, and that yeast turns to carbohydrates in any food into alcohol. Number 12. Capgras delusion is a medical condition described as a false belief in identical-looking imposters. To some of you, this kind of belief may sound too paranoid, and that's because the people who suffer from this usually suffer from paranoid schizophrenia or dementia. This is a delusion where a patient believes that a loved one has been replaced by an identical-looking imposter, and it occurs more frequently among women. Number 13. Did you know that there's a medical condition called post-orgasmic illness syndrome? Luckily, this condition doesn't make a person allergic to orgasms, but it makes him allergic to his own semen. The symptoms are running nose, fever, itching of eyes, and severe exhaustion immediately after ejaculation. According to some sources, it takes 3 years to cure this syndrome by using a so-called hyposensitization therapy. In this therapy, patients are injected with a solution that contains high concentration of their own semen. Number 14. Have you ever met a person who is constantly making inappropriate jokes in a very inappropriate situation? If you have, there's a big chance that you met a person who suffers from wisculets, or the inappropriate wisecracker. This rare medical condition includes cracking inappropriate jokes, blabbering pointless stories, and making comments and puns even when people around are obviously disapproving. Sometimes damaged frontal lobe causes this medical condition. Number 15, the last one on our list. Believe it or not, there is a very bizarre medical condition called alien hand syndrome. This weird disorder causes only one hand to behave on its own. It is actually as bizarre as it sounds. One hand goes wild without the patient's knowledge. In some cases, the person who suffers from this condition has to use his healthy hand to restrain the alien hand from causing more trouble. This is definitely one of the weirdest conditions that cannot be controlled. Thank you for tuning in to Baboon TV. For more videos, please comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.